Welcome to Pheasants in Wisconsin, your key to understanding the story behind these amazing birds. We'll update you on threats to their survival, challenges for natural resource professionals who manage them, and the conservation efforts of hunters working to enhance habitat that benefits these birds and so many other species. What makes the ringneck pheasant so special?
The flush as you're approaching a bird is extremely exciting, and certainly working with dogs is a rewarding experience for me. Being able to train your hunting partner and pursue pheasants and put meat in the freezer is an extremely rewarding experience. And especially when set against the backdrop of a beautiful autumn in Wisconsin, it's very hard to beat pheasant hunting here in the state.
You go out expecting to see, the common songbirds, and then bam, there's a bright, beautiful male pheasant, in the distance, crowing, strutting. It's really a sight to see.
As a biologist, I'm constantly amazed by the pheasant's resilience and its ability to survive in a range of habitat types and a range of climates. As a hunter, I'm blown away by the sheer beauty of the bird. I will truly never forget the first time I was pheasant hunting with my dad and got my first bird. We had a happy dog, a happy dad, and a kid that couldn't stop smiling.
The key to survival for pheasants, both short-term and long-term, is habitat. And the key to healthy habitat is conservation-minded hunters. Unfortunately, the loss of both good habitat and hunters may be the biggest threat to pheasants in Wisconsin.
In the United States, we've lost about 99.9% of our native prairies, and enrollment in critical conservation programs such as the Conservation Reserve Program has really dwindled in recent years. Nationally, we've lost somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 million acres, and here in Wisconsin, we've lost about 500,000 acres of CRP since the peak in the mid-1990s. There are other federal Farm Bill programs as well, such as Wetland Reserve Easement Program, which creates and restores wetlands, which in Wisconsin provides valuable overwinter habitat for pheasants. There's also the Environmental Quality Incentive Program, or EQIP as it's known, which pays incentives to farmers to improve farming practices as well as create or enhance wildlife habitat. Weather can certainly impact pheasants as well. Harsh winters, for example, can lower annual survival rates for pheasants. Also, cool and rainy springs can reduce pheasant production, as these chicks are very young and very susceptible to things like hypothermia. They can't regulate their body temperature as well. So when we have above average rainfall and below average temperatures during that critical brood rearing period, it can have significant impacts on pheasant production. The impact of predators is oftentimes felt in areas where there's other more serious underlying issues as well, habitat loss, for example. So in an area where the amount of available pheasant habitat is shrunk, the birds that are there are consolidated into a smaller area and are therefore more susceptible to predators. Pheasant populations are able to withstand pressures of predators because they produce a lot of young. So evolutionarily, they've adapted to the presence and pressure that it's put on them by predator populations.
To understand the threats, challenges, and opportunities for pheasants in Wisconsin, it helps to understand pheasant biology and ecology. We know some DNR experts who can help.
Pheasants are a large-bodied bird with long necks and small heads. The males are quite colorful with a red face, green neck and head, and long brown tails with black barring, and of course the distinct white ring around their neck. Females are smaller than the males, kind of a dull brown, but again they have the long brown tail with the black barring. In the early spring, males start establishing their breeding territory, and they'll defend that territory by crowing and strutting. The females will group up into breeding groups called harems, and then the male will also court these females through a variety of different showy techniques. The male will strut or run at the female with his ear tufts erected. The ear tufts are the long feathers on the top of the head. The wattles, which is the fleshy, unfeathered part on the face, will turn bright red and swell up. And the females are not always very responsive to the males, but usually by mid-May, all the females are bred and nesting. The females will build their nest on the ground, and that helps them blend in with the surrounding grassland to prevent predation. Females will sit on their nests for about 3 weeks or 23 days till the chicks hatch as precocial young, meaning that they are pretty much ready to go right out of the egg. Their eyes are open, they're fully feathered with down feathers, and they're ready to run around and start foraging for seeds, insects, and other food sources.
Years of experience and success have proven that proper nutrition makes dogs happy and healthy at home and in the field. Dogs of all ages love American Natural Premium. You see it in their energy, endurance, and performance, and in their healthy skin and coat. Feed American Natural Premium and they'll come running with bright eyes and wagging tails. American Natural Premium's carefully chosen ingredients provide premium nutrition without a premium price.
Join Pheasants Forever for National Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic February 22nd through the 24th in Schaumburg, Illinois. Enjoy new upland gear and vendors, bird dogs and professional training seminars. Bring the kids to Rudy's Youth Village, learn wild game cooking tips, and much, much more. Discover the nation's largest event for habitat conservation and upland hunting. National Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic, coming to Schaumburg, Illinois, February 22nd through the 24th, 2019.
MEC designs and manufactures the very best commercial-grade clay target machines for shooting enthusiasts. Our products feature models in the E-Series and XP Series that are perfect for recreational use or gun club performance. Built from American steel and aluminum, they're strong, dependable, and easy to use, while still being light enough to move around a sporting clays course with ease. MEC clay target machines are built and manufactured in the USA with pride, from the brand you trust.
Thank you, hunters. You do so much for conservation and for Wisconsin's economy. When you buy hunting gear, fill your gas tanks on hunting trips, shop at local stores, eat at cafes and restaurants, and stay at motels throughout Wisconsin, you create a $4 billion ripple effect to help local businesses survive and thrive. This great economic impact is one of many ways that hunting works for Wisconsin.
Let's take a look at a year in the life of wild pheasants.
Wintertime in a pheasant's life cycle is definitely the most dangerous time. There's a couple of reasons for that, one being that the frigid cold and the lack of food lowers their health throughout the winter season. But the biggest factor really is blanketing snow really hurts the habitat value and the places that they're able to escape. For those birds that are able to survive, they break up from that point, they move into different cover types, and they start to create their own territories. And so a rooster will create its territory and start crowing and bring in its own hens. They will nest right in that rooster's local area. A hen will actually potentially lay up to 3 to 4 clutches within a year. However, once they have a successful clutch, that's really all they're going to do, because they will stay with those chicks for the first 8 to 10 weeks of their life cycle. A chick's diet is approximately 90% bugs in its first few weeks of life. So the mothers, the hens, will bring their chicks into pollinator habitats, properly grazed pastures, anywhere that's going to green up first and provide bugs for their chicks. And they move from that heavy insect cover to now cover that's going to keep them away from predators, and also around corn and beans, because as we move into the fall, their diet really becomes corn, beans, sorghum, a little bit of grass seed as well, but they're really starting to pack on the pounds so they can get ready for the winter months. Ideal winter cover includes warm season grasses, cattail marshes, and native brush. And the native brush is an important piece there, because a lot of our invasive problems here in Wisconsin, including buckthorn and honeysuckle, create really no cover underneath, where a lot of our native brush, like dogwood and high bush cranberry, there's a lot of them out there, they'll allow grasses to grow up underneath them. So instead of creating avenues for predators to find birds, they create a maze that birds can hide in.
Throughout the year, habitat is key for wild pheasants.
Pheasants Forever is the habitat organization. Established in 1982, since then we've improved 17 million acres of habitat. We've done this through 530 habitat projects. In addition, we've completed 1,500 land acquisitions, one of which we're standing on here today. Over the process of 7 acquisitions, this property has now grown to over 800 acres. Property was purchased by Pheasants Forever and then donated to the DNR so that the property can be maintained as public. So you don't have to be a hunter, trapper, or fisherman, own a dog to come out here and enjoy this property. Pheasants Forever has a truly unique grassroots conservation model that they follow that keeps us effective and efficient. 100% of the funds raised by the local volunteer chapters stays local, and those chapter volunteers get to decide how that money is spent. We pride ourselves in that we build the best habitat for birds, both pheasants, quail, and other wildlife. Those outside influencers, weather and predators and so on, can have an influence on population. But if we provide the highest quality habitat, bird populations will maintain or increase even in times of tough conditions. You know, really the structure of these grasses, how they stand up, they're going to hold up to our snow cover here in Wisconsin, and they're going to create pockets underneath that those birds can hide in for thermal cover. They're also going to find all these seeds. That's going to be a great food source for them, as these grasses will stay standing through the winter. We're dedicated to upland wildlife habitat conservation, as well as preserving the rural outdoor traditions that we're familiar with, such as hunting, trapping, fishing, and bird watching. So this is the kind of habitat that we like to see in place for spring nesting. You know, it's got good aerial coverage, so if we were an aerial predator, we wouldn't be able to see that nest. It's wide spanning, so any kind of ground predators like fox or skunk, they're going to have a difficult time searching this field for nests. It's a really great habitat. Pheasants Forever is a science-based organization, and because of that, we hire wildlife biologists or farm bill wildlife biologists across the country. Currently, we have over 100 biologists. Here in Wisconsin, we have 7 biologists that span the entire state, covering every county, any landowner that wants our help or assistance. If you look at the numbers, Wisconsin is approximately 80% privately owned. And so if we focused all our resources on land acquisitions like this one, that would only cover 20%. We wouldn't be doing our wildlife a true benefit by only working on public lands. My job entails working with farmers to look at fields like this one here, identifying areas that are not as profitable as they could be. This soybean field used to extend beyond this to a ditch. That area was prone to flooding in the spring, and so this farmer decided to take it out and plant it to a shelter belt like we see here. And when winter comes, they can roost in these pine trees for additional thermal cover. He kept the best, conserved the rest. Not only is this a win for the farmer, but it's also a win for the pheasant.
MEC designs and manufactures the very best commercial-grade clay target machines for shooting enthusiasts. Our products feature models in the E Series and XP Series that are perfect for recreational use or gun club performance. Built from American steel and aluminum, they're strong, dependable, and easy to use, while still being light enough to move around a sporting clays course with ease. MEC clay target machines are built and manufactured in the USA with pride, from the brand you trust.
Join Pheasants Forever for National Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic February 22nd through the 24th in Schaumburg, Illinois. Enjoy new upland gear and vendors, bird dogs and professional training seminars. Bring the kids to Rudy's Youth Village, learn wild game cooking tips, and much, much more. Discover the nation's largest event for habitat conservation and upland hunting. National Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic, coming to Schaumburg, Illinois, February 22nd through the 24th, 2019.
Years of experience and success have proven that proper nutrition makes dogs happy and healthy at home and in the field. Dogs of all ages love American Natural Premium. You see it in their energy, endurance, and performance, and in their healthy skin and coat. Feed American Natural Premium, and they'll come running with bright eyes and wagging tails. American Natural Premium's carefully chosen ingredients provide premium nutrition without a premium price.
Thank you, hunters. You do so much for conservation and for Wisconsin's economy. When you buy hunting gear, fill your gas tanks on hunting trips, shop at local stores, eat at cafes and restaurants, and stay at motels throughout Wisconsin, you create a $4 billion ripple effect to help local businesses survive and thrive. This great economic impact is one of many ways that hunting works for Wisconsin.
While many partners are working together on habitat, The DNR is also supplementing natural pheasant reproduction at the state game farm at Poynette and releasing them on about 91 properties open to the public across Wisconsin's pheasant range.
We're going to release 75,000 birds again this year on public lands for people to hunt. And let me tell you, as somebody who's hunted outstate, these birds are second to none. They are beautiful looking birds and a great opportunity for people to pheasant hunt right here in Wisconsin.
The state of Wisconsin started pheasant releases early in the 1930s. There were private pheasant releases that actually started wild populations. So initially this program was to introduce pheasants into Wisconsin like many other states had successfully done. Through the years, studies showed that pheasants were actually not able to sustain a wild population throughout the state, but pheasant hunters already enjoyed the sport and there was a demand for it, so we set up a put and take situation for pheasants. The most recent upgrade here at the State Game Farm has been our new hatchery. This hatchery was supported by pheasant hunters in the state of Wisconsin as well as our state government. We've been able to upgrade the machines that will be much more efficient. The chicks are brought up to the brooder barns. This is where they're going to be reared for the first 6 weeks of their life. They're put into what's called the A room. This A room, when they're first brought in, has a lot of food and water containers all along the floor. This allows the chicks to figure out where the food and water is in the buildings. As they grow up, the food and water containers are removed slowly, so there's only a small portion at the end of the time that they're in the barns. They move to the B room, which is just a larger room as they're growing bigger. And again, this is for them to grow up until they're 6 weeks old. This is our B room. This is where the birds come after they're 20 days of age and then are moved out at 6 weeks old. You can see the room is much larger than the A room was. We have automatic waterers for them as well as automatic feeders. The automatic feeders and waterers help us to be able to manage the birds without having a lot of contact with people, which hopefully will make sure that the birds don't tame down and are more wild when they are hunted in the fall. The birds raised here at the State Game Farm in Poynette are released on 90 public areas in the state of Wisconsin. Pheasant stocking season starts a week before pheasant hunting, which starts in October. It ends the first week of December. During that time, every day, staff come in and we crate birds, probably about 3,000 a day. Those birds are sent to wildlife biologists throughout the state and they will stock the birds onto their areas.
The DNR and its partners have created plenty of opportunities for existing pheasant hunters and for newcomers. Here's the DNR's Keith Warnke to explain the R3 opportunities.
R3 is recruitment, retention, reactivation of hunters, anglers, and shooting sports participants. We in Wisconsin have seen a decline in the number of hunters over the past 10 to 12 years. Now, it's not a steep decline yet at this point, but it is going down and it's expected to go down a lot steeper in the future. Mentoring new hunters or recruiting new hunters, training new hunters is really an important facet for all of us who are current hunters because it really relates back to our relevancy, our participation in the ecosystem, our participation in conservation. People need to learn more about that, and they love to learn about conservation funding. They love to learn about the other species you're going to see out there. They love to learn about watching the woods wake up. But all of these things, if we can pass them along to new people, this is going to increase our relevancy and sustain our heritage as hunters. Mentoring a new hunter is really easy. It's doing what you do every day in the field while you're hunting and inviting someone else to come along. When you see someone else's face after you've taught them to go hunting, that is a huge reward for you, and if you need, you have another hunting partner. Women are the fastest growing segment of new hunters, so anything we can do to invite more women along hunting, invite girlfriends, invite our spouses, invite our daughters, and take young women hunting is going to be a benefit because those are folks who wouldn't normally in the past have had the opportunity to start hunting, but they're people that we can train and who are definitely interested in hunting.
I have never hunted before, but I come from a whole family of hunters. And what got me into it is my daughter. My daughter has 4 boys and they had just gotten into it. And she suggested that she and I do this, and I thought that'd be a fun time to spend with her. So that's what got me into it. And I want a bird. I want a bird.
And one thing that we know for sure from the research and from data and from surveys is that if mom hunts, it's far more likely that the family's going to keep hunting. In addition to an interest in food, people have a really big interest in watching dogs work. It's a huge attraction. So if you've got a pheasant hunt club or you've got a dog club, people really like to get involved, get engaged in pheasant hunting because of the dog work. Perfect way to get people involved. So for all the hunters out there who are thinking that they want to participate in R3, recruitment, retention, and reactivation, one very key thing to make sure is that your experience, be it hunting, fishing, deer, turkey, bluegills, whatever it is connected to another experience so that new participants don't only get the one and done, but they get to go to a bluegill fishing event, they get to go to a deer hunting event, they get to go to a turkey hunting event, they get to go to a pheasant hunting event or program, so they have all these various skills and trainings in their back pocket. Because if you think about it, when we started hunting, it was not a one and done deal, that's for sure. We had a mentor who took us along again and again and again until we had the tools and skills and we felt confident enough to keep going on our own. So that's a very key thing to remember, is that make sure your programs or your activities are connected to another experience for novice hunters.
Pheasants taste great, and they're an excellent source of healthy protein. Here's Dave Roll, a hunter and Pheasants Forever chapter board member, to show us how to clean and cook pheasants.
Filleting a pheasant and getting it ready for your meal is a fairly simple, straightforward procedure once you understand a couple of basic anatomy bits. Take a sharp knife sideways and just make a little bit of a notch. Now work your thumbs right up the middle of the breast. Pull the skin down to the side on each side. We take the fillet knife and touch right up against the side of the sternum or the breastbone and just cut right through that tendon that binds the two together. Nice clean breast fillet. Drop that in the water and go do the other side. We're going to go the direction of a Mediterranean rub. This is a combination of basil, oregano, thyme. There's some mint leaves in here. Then I flip the fillets over and do the same thing to that side. I have a spray bottle of olive oil here. This will help to keep it from sticking to the grill. And we're just going to throw them right on there. And this is lean, fairly thin meat that will not take very long to grill. So Keep an eye on your timer. We're going to go about 2.5 minutes per side. Okay, it's about 2.5 minutes. Looks like it's time to turn it over. Another 2.5 minutes up. Oh, they look great. Nice grill marks on there. We're going to plate this up with a classic Mediterranean dish called tabbouleh. I'm using homemade orange marmalade to put a nice sweet glaze over the top of the bird. And then another nice garnish is some chopped green onion. And there you go, pheasant breast, Mediterranean style.
More and more hunters have discovered beyond the excitement of the hunt and the savory mealtime fruits of your labor, there are additional benefits for pheasants and for pheasant hunters. I'm talking about the joys and rewards of being a mentor.
After years of being in the field and hunting and enjoying the sport, it is much more rewarding now to take a young person out or an older person that hasn't hunted before, teach them about the ethics, the dog work, and the joy of hunting, and really see them light up and then find the enjoyment that I've found over the years and to pass it on.
If somebody did this one time, they would do it the rest of their life, because you're giving back to kids that absolutely need it. You have the expertise to do it. Why would you not share?
I enjoy watching the kids get their first bird. The smile on their face is priceless. I mean, for me, it's always been not always about birds in the bag, just the joy of being outdoors, watching my dogs work.
With what we're doing here, I think we get a small portion started in idea of hunting or nature, taking care of the grounds. And I have 6 grandkids of my own, and I'd like them to come back here and maybe enjoy this place also.
It's easy now with online resources, apps, and smartphones to find a place to hunt.
There are a number of different tools that the DNR makes available to the hunters to find different places to hunt pheasants. For example, we have the Fields and Forest Land Interactive Game Bird Hunting Tool, or F-Flight as it's known, which is an interactive mapping tool where people can actually find the properties that are stocked with pheasants throughout the state. This can be found on the DNR's website. Also on the DNR's website is a list of the stocked properties as well as a number of birds that will be stocked on that property in that given hunting season. Lastly, the DNR has recently released a new app called Hunt Wild, which provides an interactive mapping application which does also show where pheasants are stocked in the state and allows hunters to do things like take waypoints or track their path through fields as well. And this Hunt Wild app is now available for both Android and Apple users in their respective stores. There are a lot of great tools and great places to find and hunt pheasants throughout the state of Wisconsin, and we wish everyone a safe and enjoyable hunting season.
On behalf of the Outdoor Heritage Education Center and our partners in conservation, thank you for joining us for Pheasants in Wisconsin.